So let's look at the industry real quick. Let's talk about real estate. So it all started out private and offline, right? It's called a book. Most of you don't remember it. I got them, I remember them, okay? And then next, it was private and online, and that's MLS, right? Next, it's public and online with public search portals. Now we have a big question. What's coming next? What do you think?
I think it's going to be, and we already start seeing it, people building proprietary experiences on how you buy and sell a home, both online and offline together. And you'll have the different companies saying this is the best way of doing it.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. Yep, that's what's coming, by the way. Right, so the book was you owned the data and the search and transaction. MLS comes along and it's now we own the data and search and transaction. Public search portals come up and all of a sudden we own inventory data and transaction data, but they own search data and the eyeballs. Yes or no? Yeah. Now when they brag, Zillow brags, says we have 185 million unique visitors, of which only 2% are legitimate buyers and sellers, by the way. They have the eyeballs. And it's your data. They're just using money and technology to enhance the experience such that everyone just wants to go there. Okay? What's next? Depends on you. We have some ideas about that. Okay? So what's left? What do you have to play with that you can rewrite the rules today? And by the way, you have your database, you have your transaction, and you have your proprietary knowledge and insights around real estate. And by the way, these are the three most important things. I didn't fully understand this. As we began to deep dive into all of this, my eyes really got open. And I also let out a huge sigh of relief because I'm digging into the patient believing that I'm looking at a cadaver. And then all of a sudden I see a heartbeat. I see a pulse. And I go, holy cow. The patient's not dead. They just need to be revived. You need to be revived right now. Okay? That's what needs to happen. And you have this is what they want. It will come. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah. Be aware of false prophets, by the way. So, think of it this way. You're not safe today if you use any off-the-shelf CRM. Hang on, no clapping, just listen. We'll clap in the end. Top producer, Commission Inc.
Interestingly,
Boomtown.
So Commission Inc. is an interesting example. And again, not good, not bad, but Fidelity actually owns Commission Inc.
And Fidelity is a title company that also owns a real estate company called Pacific Union.
And so if you're using Commissions Inc., it's a short way of saying, I'm going to pay my competitive brokerage to give them my data to compete with me. It's almost like if you went to said, hey, RE/MAX, to make my life easier, RE/MAX agent, I want to pay you money so you can service my clients for me. I trust you, I really do.
Well, they're just counting on that you didn't attend this meeting today. They're just counting on the fact that you're oblivious because you just need to make a sale and you're willing to pay a 50% referral fee to get a lead. That's what they're counting on, right? It's really interesting. Commission Inc. is a good example. So there's a company out there called EXP, and former Keller Williams person, and this is not the first time that Keller Williams has been copied by a former Keller Williams person. I mean, right? This is they're
Avalar, Exit. There's been plenty.
Yes, and they're somewhat irrelevant today, but they were the darlings of Inman for a period of time. But the problem is they barely made $1 million last year. They're already a public company allowing agents to earn stock in this over-the-counter stock that isn't worth much. The problem is their entire New Edge cloud platform is nothing more than 2 different cloud services that you can buy at the 5 and dime store at Amazon or Google, bolted on with Fidelity's, right, or conversion. This is all off-the-shelf stuff. Lord help them. Lord help anybody there. Huh?
We've played that game.
We've been playing that game. Here's the weird thing is, it looks like we're still playing that game. Be careful what you see, what you think you see. Look behind the curtain. We're going to show that to you in a few minutes. We're going to show what's really behind the curtain. By the way,
and Gary, I think your point, they made $1 million or whatever. It's not enough to turn that ship. You can't make your own proprietary technology.
$1 million won't even pay for 2 or 3 amazing data scientists. The biggest challenge that even an individual real estate agent has, let's be honest about this, is the data set is tainted and it's small. So even if they could mine their own data, it's not that useful to the consumer. It's not useful in any major way. But the bigger problem is, if you were going to go build your own software platform or cobble it together on Salesforce or anything like that, it would cost you a minimum of $300,000 to $500,000 over a year or two to get anything that was really credible. By the way, to spend $300,000 as a real estate agent on technology means you had to earn between $1 million to $1.2 million after you split with your team and paid your bills to have $300,000 pre-tax to just go hire 2 data scientists to build something. The individual agent building technology that they're going to use for their business is going to leave them by the wayside. And I'm not saying that to insult anybody. It's just not going to happen.
Well, and that's the bet.
You're going to get your butt beat in the game against Netflix if you think you're going to go do that. Any off-the-shelf transaction management, dot-loop, SkySlope, guess what? You're giving them your transaction data. When Zillow comes calling and tells you that, in fact, you should use dot-loop and you're not with Keller Williams, they have your data.
Now, it is different if you're with Keller Williams.
That's what I said. Keller Williams is the only real estate company that when their agents use dot-loop, Zillow cannot use your data. But here's the bad news. Yeah, here's the bad news. The bad news is they got everybody else's. Do you hear that? Yep. That's my cattle sound. Okay? Yeah. And any AVM, any consumer and neighborhood information, any insight around the market and the consumer, right? Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com, Nextdoor, any of those, by the way, they're coming right after your proprietary knowledge and insights. And they've now begun to understand that the MLS data was just the first data set that they wanted. They're coming back for the rest of it.
Well,
okay?
and Gary, did you know that these are just the ones we see? There's actually a whole nother fight happening that we don't see.
Yeah.
The founder of Google is actually the owner of a company that owns over 50% of all the appraisals in the country.
Did you know that? Let's say you did 20 deals last year. On average, half of the appraisals on the deals you did are owned by a company that was started by the founder of Google. You don't even own your appraisals. Folks, you don't even own your inspections. And you're so screwed up that if you represent the seller, you don't ever want to see the inspection. You don't want anyone to see it. What do you think's happening? There are people seeing it, by the way.
This kind of feels like the Cold War, right? Nobody's fired any missiles yet, but the arms race is on.
Well, that's the whole S-curve, Jay. That's right. In other words, we've been in this stall zone, and everyone is now, and we're moving out of the stall zone. Mm-hmm. Yep. So let's look at the outsider's inside sales journey, okay? This is my take on it, and then I went to our awesome team and asked them to verify if I got it right, and I did. So this is before you were born. But I want to just show you the history of your industry. And that is, Century 21, Art Bartlett ultimately sold that company to Metropolitan Life. That's an insurance company, by the way. Why would they buy a real estate company? Because they thought, silly them, that the real estate agent would be a team player and tell the buyer and seller that they should use MetLife, their company, for all their insurance. How'd that work out? Man, it didn't work, right? Next up. Private companies were bought by Merrill Lynch. They built one of the coolest largest privately held real estate companies in America. Why'd they do that? Why'd Merrill Lynch want in? Silly them. They thought the real estate agent would say, we're all Merrill Lynch. And after you buy a home, you should use Merrill Lynch for all your financial services. How'd that work out? Didn't, because the real estate agent would not walk across and refer. We're dadgum independent, right? We're not going to help anybody out. That's the way we are, right? By the way, Coldwell Banker was bought by Sears. Why did they do it? Silly Sears. They thought that if you bought a house through a company that was owned by Sears, that the real estate agent would then say, and you should go down to Sears and you should buy a rake and a hoe and a lawnmower from Sears because we're all in this together. They even put desks. I still remember walking in to a Sears stores back in that day, and there would be a desk with an agent with a blue jacket on sitting there in case you wanted to talk about real estate when you were looking at garden hoses. How'd that work out? Didn't work out, by the way. You with me? C21, Coldwell Banker, and now owned by Realogy. They all got out of that business, right? Merrill Lynch, by the way, that didn't work out, but a bunch of guys over at Coldwell Banker whispered in Prudential's ear and say, Sears got it all wrong, they screwed it up. So, oh, by the way, we know how to do it right, so you can really do this. So then they turned around and Prudential went into business, and how did that work out? Real estate agents did not refer any Prudential business, and ultimately Berkshire Hathaway, who had already gotten into business. Why? Because Berkshire Hathaway was a major play in the utility business in the Northeast, and they erroneously thought that if a Berkshire Hathaway agent sold a house, and this was at Dyna, so they bought Dyna, right? Companies like that, and they just believed that if we were all part of the same family, that after the home was sold, that you would say, oh, and you should use our utility providers that are part of our company because we're all in this together. How'd that work out? Well, it didn't work out at all, but Berkshire Hathaway looked up and said, wow, real estate companies make money, and so they were able to buy Prudential for a healthy sum, and there we go. Now, why didn't any of this, what was the goal? They wanted the data. The problem was the only way they could get it during that era was you had to give it to them physically. And you said no. Guess what? They don't need to ask you anymore. They're not asking you. What they're doing is they're offering you software. They're offering you leads. They're basically saying whiskey cigarettes like this. And you're going, gimme. This is awesome. Yeah.
Well, they're not asking, they're charging you now. That's the crazy part.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I'm not picking on this. I'm not making you decide good or bad. I'm just telling you the facts, ma'am. Fidelity is a good example, by the way, right? We already, like you mentioned, they own Pacific Union and other real estate companies, and they've started getting into the software business. If you're with EXP, you don't own your data, Fidelity does. You get it? Yeah, they're coming for your data, and they're going to literally come in and say, I'm going to solve your problem. I'm going to stitch all this together, right? Realtor.com, I'm going to stitch all these products together around top producer, and we're going to put in a transaction management. We're going to make your job easier. Run like heck. Please run away. Now understand that these are so well funded that they are ahead of the curve. So there's a pain point when you say no to that today. You say yes to that, you are literally handing it to them. This is how they're getting your data. And they're not asking you for it, folks. You already gave it to them. I just don't remember Amazon asking me for my data. Did you ever get that call? I don't remember Facebook saying that, right? They said they weren't going to monetize it. Then they did. I still remember when they said we're not going to do it. And then we are. Oh, we changed our mind.
They went public.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. See, they're no longer asking for you to introduce their products to your customers. They're now buying the tools you're using, and they're taking the access. And you're willingly giving it to them. And by the way, your MLSs are, your boards are, they're all doing it. One of your greatest challenges is how you'll survive NAR and your local board. Because they will literally sell you out. They already did it once. The whole Realtor.com thing, right? The people that what in the world were they thinking, right? Now, if you go to Canada, they're a lot smarter. They don't have your problems. They don't have foreclosures, right? And they don't have a data problem because their national association formed a public portal. Thus, Zillow does not exist in Canada. Lord, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Well, Canada, you bet. Honestly, man, I think Canadians are a lot smarter than Americans. In certain areas. The only thing that makes us think we're better is we just have more land mass. It gives us a false sense, I'm just telling you, it gives America a false sense of security. We just have more people and more land. Yep, so here's the good news. You did a great job protecting your database, your transactions, and your proprietary knowledge from outsiders. You have done a great job. Here's the bad news. You're doing a poor job of protecting your database, your transactions, your proprietary knowledge from technology companies that are masquerading as services, right? One more lead and the promise of the easy button. And when a real estate agent is starving and is trying to get a sale any way they can, instead of getting off their butt and lead generating, they will sell out the industry. They will sell you, listen, quit clapping. They will sell you out. They are selling you out. And they won't be in the business in 3 years. I go, even in the groups I teach, the one constant all the years is that I'm still in that room. People come and go in this business by their own choice. Don't screw it up for the ones who decide to stay. Today, these services and promises have resulted in your having to use multiple systems that don't talk to each other and add complexity to your life, and you have pain. I get it. Tomorrow, these companies will offer to solve your problem by combining everything into one platform. Easy, easy, easy. One big problem, when you use their easy all-in-one platform, it will be game, set, and match. The battle's over. If you choose the wrong partner, you've just empowered the agent-enabled platform, right? So let's look at that. So the industry starts out, and we're just agents, right? And then what happens is we have the tech-enabled agent, which is MLS, very unsophisticated. What happens is we take our data and we give it to someone else, and they flipped it on you. Zillow is now the agent-enabled tech, folks. Redfin is agent-enabled tech. Make no mistake about what they are, okay? And of course, last, the thought would be, well, then someday we just won't have agents, it'll be tech. No.
Kind of like Uber with self-driving cars. We don't need drivers anymore.
No. This is the game right here. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, I didn't mean to gloss over that. But there's Uber literally turning to their drivers saying, thank you for so much for making us so valuable that we have so much money that we'll now create autonomous driving cars and put you out of business. But because they're independent contractors and the money's good in the moment, what are they going to do? You're going to have some mass boycott of Uber? No, we refuse to make money while you put us out of business. No, they willingly show up for the slaughter, drive the cars, collect the money, and make Uber so valuable that they'll put them out of business. God, it sounds like the real estate industry to me. Okay, you're at that interesting moment where that's exactly what is happening to you, right? Yeah. So the battle is going to be, what's going to be left standing, and you heard it here, is going to be either the tech-enabled agent or the agent-enabled tech. They are both going to exist, by the way. That game's already been decided. You gave the MLS data away. You did. You still do, by the way. You don't have to. You could boycott MLS and walk out. Why do you think that, now I've gone blank, the platform that we actually put money into and supported, thank you. Yeah, it's so irrelevant, I couldn't remember it. Yeah. Up yours, yeah, that's it, yeah. Well, that's what, by the way, that's what the MLS has said. So by the way, the industry, agnostic away from MLS and the boards, said this is what we need to do. This makes total sense. One portal where you can put your information in, and then you can literally turn around and decide where you send it. Who's trying to make that not happen? Your boards and MLSs. They're stopping it. Right? And then, of course, what happened was Zillow looked up and they realized exactly what was happening. They saw it. So they immediately created their own service and said, whoa, we'll do this for you. We'll create the easy button so you put it in here and then you can decide. Beware of people bearing gifts like that. Okay? Your own boards and MLS has literally sold you out. They're stopping it. Why? Because MLSs look up and go, well, you could someday make us irrelevant. And you go, well, we won't if you work with us. If you don't work with us, we may have no choice. It's getting easier and easier for there to be a national MLS. And we won't call it MLS because that will have a bad connotation and taste in our mouth by then. So the world is not decided yet. it.